So, all right, everyone. So in this video, we're going to look at Kubernetes Init Containers. We know that like when we create pods, there are containers running inside them, right? So those are the ones that I'm calling app containers. They are normal containers. And you can also have like what they call init containers. So init containers are meant for a specific purpose. You can have multiple init containers, just like how you can have multiple app containers. So let's see like why you need them, what they are, and things like that. So first of all, init containers, as you might have guessed, they actually run first. When a pod is created, they run first, and then they run to completion before uh, before actually the application containers are started, right? So they run to completion. That's very important. Now, if the init containers crash for some reason, it will never move to the next stage. Either the init containers will keep on restarting. There are many ways to work with it, but basically, in most cases, the init containers will keep restarting and running the scripts or commands that are meant to be run inside the init containers. And then only after they finish, it will let the application container to start, right? So that's the main thing to understand. Now, what are some use cases, right? So the first one is a delay. Like if you want to have some sort of delay before your actual application comes up, like 5-minute delay, 10-minute delay, or even just 1-minute delay, you can put the wait command in your init container and just let the init container come up and the wait will happen, and then it will move to creating your application containers. Or you can wait for other services to come up, like like in case of backend applications like Java or Python, those backend applications can wait for the database to be available before the application is started, right? So that's waiting for other services that can happen inside init containers. Now, one other use case that I'm aware of is basically in cases where you need to have like better privileges, like privileged user access to change, let's say, the ownership of a file system or just a permission of a file, or or you probably need to access vault for some reason and you need access to secrets. All those like high uh, privilege actions can be part of init containers. But basically those things that need to happen that require higher privilege, they can be part of init containers before the application is started, right? So now, to explain how I'm going to be doing a demo, of course. So we're going to basically have a simple uh, database. So there's a init container that's going to wait for the database to be available before the main application, I'm going to call it my application, is started. Okay, so let's jump to the demo. Now, I don't have any pods running. So the application that I'm going to be creating is my application, right? So that's the pod that I'll be creating. And inside that pod, if you try to just understand this part, so you have the container section, which is actually the main application, and I just kept it simple. I'm using a popular image called BusyBox. So that let's just assume that that is the main application, right? So that's the main container that we want to run. But before that, actually, there is a init container section. And in the init container, I'm going to be running a simple command actually. And or a bunch of commands. And what that command does is it is going to basically run a Python program. And the Python program will actually connect to the MySQL database. And if the database is not available, it's going to keep trying until the database is available. And once the database is available, then the init container will finish. It will run to completion. Then the application container will be created. And you don't have to worry about the volumes and volume mounts and all that. It's just a method I am using to uh, just stage this program inside the init container, right? So I will share this manifest with you, this YAML file with you, like in case you want to practice in your Kubernetes cluster. So now let's keep going. So I'm going to go ahead and create this application, right? Or pod. So, all right. So let's see actually what's happening inside. kubectl get pods. So as you can see, you have your pod that is trying to come up, my application, and it's actually in the init state, meaning like it's like running the init container. And what is it doing exactly, right? If you are curious about that, you can run like a log command uh, or a command to just fetch the logs. You can see that initially it probably ran like uh, the pip commands to download the MySQL connector package and so on. And it's like it seems like it's like waiting for something, right? Because as you can see, the init is still running. It's been like about 50 seconds. And as you know, like that it is actually waiting for the database to be available, database service to be available, right? So now I am actually gonna go ahead and just spin up a database, right? So this will be the database pod. So if I do a get pods now, now the MySQL pod is actually running. Okay, here's the log command that I ran actually to tail the log of the init container, um, which is init database. And initially, actually, the database was not available, so it was waiting for the DB initialization. Then, as soon as it figured out the database is available and it is able to connect to the database, it exited the init container. Now, our application is running. That's pretty much it. So, I hope that was useful. And thanks for watching the video. I'll see you guys in one of my other videos.